What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Bible Study. I wanted to give you guys a few minutes to be able to jump on here and connect with us today. Our chapters are Hosea 4, 5, and 6. And particularly in chapter 4, what we see is a dramatic scene that doesn't necessarily translate directly into what we encounter or are tempted to encounter as believers today. But it does offer us insight that even Jesus himself connects to when he deals with the religious leaders. So first, let's just go through some of the things in Hosea chapter 4 that are important. First thing is we see a battle happening where Israel is trying to get Judah to join forces to try and defeat the Assyrian army. Well, Judah doesn't do that, so then a lot of Judah is destroyed, and in trying to prevent it from happening, the king Ahaz goes and tries to form an alliance with the king of Assyria instead of trusting God. And so God brings a lot of condemnation onto Judah because of their lack of trust. And it's not just with Ahaz, but the priests are adulterous in their worship. In other words, they are prostituting themselves in Baal worship and other false gods in worship. That is where the major problem lies with us in looking at how do we make sense of Hosea 4 for our lives today? And what does that even matter in the context of our lives? Well, Jesus, when he was talking to the religious leaders, and that's really the most pertinent correlation for us in our understanding of the text, is that Jesus told the religious leaders that they were a wicked, adulterous, and perverse generation. He used the same language about the religious leaders that were used by the priest and Ahaz and the nation that had begun to worship Baal. Because the kind of perversity that exists, now I know some might say Baal still, is still, the Baal worship is still existing and all that stuff. It's just kind of coded in a different way. We can get into a lot of those arguments, but the reality is if you read the text and you're true to what the text is saying, none of that activity is really happening as widespread as it was then. So what we do see, though, in a correlation from the New Testament to the Old Testament is that there is a tendency for people to turn away from the Lord and to devote themselves to other things, right? And so Jesus actually condemns the religious leaders of doing that. Those who were just outwardly doing things but didn't have the heart, didn't have the relationship that they needed to have with him. And so if you were to read Hosea 4 and you're to read this dramatic scene, right? And so sometimes dramatic scenes in the Bible are used to get our attention, just like things are used in our culture today to get our attention, right? So when these dramatic scenes occur, we have to pause and go, why is that happening? And the reason why this dramatic scene was happening is because the prophet was trying to get the people's attention that God was serious. This is how he felt about the sins that they were committing. And so Jesus used the same strong language to the religious leaders. And so that teaches us something. It teaches us that Jesus was serious about what he was saying about the religious leaders. So what is the message for us today? I think the message is don't let yourself be consumed with things out of habit when your heart is not connected to God. More than anything, connect your heart to God, and all your activities will follow through with it. Don't give yourself partially to God in just practice, but give yourself wholly to God. And don't use that as an excuse to say, well, because I can't give myself committed to God, God would rather you not do it at all, right? That's not what the Bible says. You commit yourself to the Lord, and you trust God, and you walk with God, and you let God do his work in you. Don't have a duality to your commitments. And that's important to think about today, right? So God hates sin, and God will judge those who don't live for him. But let's be encouraged that Jesus came to give us an opportunity to be saved. So let's take that salvation tonight and let's walk in it.